Hello, hello. Welcome to the Five Talents Podcast. I'm your host, Abel Pacheco. I interview the top commercial real estate investors and industry experts so you can learn from their experiences. So if you're an investor, a high W-2 earner, or real estate or tech sales professional that wants to invest in real estate without having to manage properties or leave your day job, then this podcast is for you. Or if you're already investing in real estate, but you're doing it part-time and you want to become a full-time multifamily or full-time commercial real estate investor, this podcast is for you too. You're going to learn a ton. You will learn from real-life multifamily investors and other professionals in the industry. They're going to share their blueprints for success, and I'm super excited that you're here. So I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, hello. This is Abel Pacheco, your host for the Five Talents Podcast. We are super excited today. Mr. Seshu Velpuri, one of our amazing guests, is one of our also frequent and regular staples to our meetups. And I met him there on a Wednesday meetup, and he just has an amazing story and a background that I knew I had to get him recorded on our show. And so I'm excited to have Seshu. Thank you very much for joining, brother.
Good morning, Abel. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. Thank you very much for asking, and really appreciate you joining.
So Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really excited.
Man, I'm excited too. So if you don't know Seshu, you absolutely need to get into his world. He's the president and CEO of a Denver-based company called the AMR Group, and they are a Homes of Rockies realty company. They've been helping investors really achieve a lot of their goals in commercial retail investments and also residential. So, we're big on commercial real estate. We're probably going to talk a little bit about residential. A lot of us got started there and then moved to commercial, and we want to talk to him about how he got started and then what he's doing today, because he's got an amazing tool that we'll also talk about that will help a lot of investors do some analysis. But the AMR Group, they specialize in sales, listings, they do management of assets, and they provide a really great return of investment for private investors. So just like us, and we were happy to have him on the show. So Seshu, if I can, let me turn it over to you. Why don't you give us a formal introduction? Tell us who you are and what you do.
Thank you for the great introduction, Abel. Thank you so much once again for having me today here. Yes, as far as the introduction is concerned, as you said, I represent AMR Group. It's a Homes of Rockies realty company based in Denver, Colorado. We have been in the business for the last 18, 19 years approximately. It's a full service brokerage firm. Started with residential real estate, and right now we are into everything pretty much. We do residential real estate buy sales for individuals and investors. At the same time, we also help a lot of our investors invest into the commercial real estate space. We also take over the assets and manage the assets for them. And the goal is to provide as much returns as possible for all our investors, make them happy, and then keep investing.
Yeah, I love it, man. That's the big goal. And we all want the same. We all want the same. As personal investors, I want to make some money so I can do it again. And as owners, I want more investors that are happy with us, and we can go do another deal, right?
Absolutely.
Well, that's great. And, go ahead.
Go ahead. Basically, the company has been in place for the asset management company has been in place for almost 12 years right now, and we've been doing pretty good.
Man, that's awesome. Well, congratulations on your success.
Thank you.
We wish you a lot more in the future. 18 and 19 years, that's a tremendous length of time in your body, in this body of expertise, which is real estate. And so I know you've seen some ups and downs, and I want to talk about what you're doing today and kind of how you're evolving. But I always love learning more about people, how they started, how they grew up, how they, got into it. So everyone can kind of relate. We don't start this huge company and it just doesn't come out of nowhere. It's taken you 19 years and even prior to that. So where are you from originally? And when did you move over to the US?
I am actually from India, originally from India, born and brought up in India. I came here when I was 22 to pursue my master's degree. I completed my bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from India, and then the next step was for me to come down here to get a master's degree. So I came here first to Texas. I went to UNT, University of North Texas, to get my master's degree in engineering technology with focus in computer science. And that's how I ended up here in 1994. Actually, I went to school. I graduated in 97
Yes.
from UNT. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's the
So
University of North Texas.
Denton. Yes, I'm from Denton.
Yeah, look at that. The Texan from India. I love it, brother. Well, what a great state to
Yeah.
move into first. We adopt you and
Absolutely.
you're part of the part of the state, no matter where you live
Yeah.
now, man. That's great. Well,
I
so you
came to
were
Texas.
oh
Go ahead.
go sorry to cut you off too. So you were mechanical engineering, you already had that background, and then you came over and got your master's in IT or kind of the IT
Engineering technology with focus on computer science.
man, look at that. So I tried a computer science degree when I first got to a UTSA, and I
Hmm.
took a COBOL class, was I think the original weed out class, COBOL, and you got to do this. I go, no, this is not for me. And I went general business. But I did spend I ended up spending 13 years in tech. So I was in IT hosting and doing that kind of thing. So that's very different than real estate, my friend. Very different than
Sure. Actually, yeah, that's the way of basically way for me to settle down here in this country. It's a country of opportunities here. Basically, everybody can do wonders here. That's what we believed in when we came here. So we started working, and I'm not saying I'm done. I'm struggling every day. I'm trying to improve our business, trying to grow all the time, and there is a lot of ways to go still. Okay, so we are
yeah.
still working on it. At the same time, as I said, my background, mechanical engineering, bachelor's degree, computer science with an engineering technology, a master's, and I started working for a regular corporate job in Dallas, Texas, after my graduation. Then I came down, I traveled everywhere. I went to Caribbean islands to do an implementation of our IT software. I stayed there for
Nice.
8 months. And
That was
Dominican
a rough
Republic.
job as a young kid,
Yeah.
I imagine, being the Caribbean
I was,
islands.
it was pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
Dominican Republic, Curacao, Saint Martin, all those islands. I was there for 8, 9 months, and then because of my visa issue, again came back into US and moved to California for 7 months. Again, after California, I found it to be very expensive during that time. I'm very young, trying to settle down myself. So
Yeah.
I was looking for a nice place, and then I decided to move down to Denver. I worked for a company called US West, a telecommunication firm,
Mhm.
doing development, and I was a lead for the IT team. That's how I started here. And then
Man, that's
I worked for
amazing.
a bunch of other companies, the corporate companies. I worked for JD Edwards. I worked for Oracle. I worked for a lot of other big companies as well.
Yeah,
So,
a lot of the companies, the big names, Fortune
uh-huh.
100-ish companies, and in these entities for IT growing. So obviously, you had a lot of professional success, is what it sounds like, before you even started real estate.
No, in fact, what happened is, as a part of my IT job, I moved into the management, and then my company sponsored my MBA. I went to University of Colorado to get my master's degree in business management, and
Mhm.
then my focus was I specialized in entrepreneurship.
Man,
Okay, so
that's amazing.
I'm a double master's. I have two master's degrees, one in engineering technology with computers, and the other one is entrepreneurship MBA.
Man. Let,
So,
let me let me pause you here before we kind of get too further on the real estate stuff, because so
uh-huh.
all of this is this amazing professional run, highly educated, hardworking individual. It sounds like with amazing companies. So you were making good money, all that good stuff. But there's one thing that that I kind of hone in on anytime I talk to somebody that was not from the U.S. originally, from another country. you faced additional obstacles, additional challenges than somebody born here, but you were able to take full advantage of the American, dream, right? The American opportunity. What were some of the challenges or obstacles you can kind of remember even at that time before we're talking about real estate? What did you have to overcome
Absolutely.
there?
It's a great question that you asked. I was going to talk about it because I came to this country with $200 in my pocket. Seriously. I didn't have anything. All my friends helped me to settle down. And then I had half a ride at UNT. And I used to work in a gas station and a restaurant. Then that's how I finished my education, first degree. And then that's how I moved from there. So, yeah, I'm very happy. I'm very fortunate, very glad I'm here.
Man, praise God. That's awesome. That's great to hear for your story. I love it. I'm already inspired, and we haven't even dug into the real estate side of it. And I ask these things and we have these conversations for people that are listening because, sometimes the real estate success in commercial real estate and really any kind of asset class that you're in, a lot of times it's just mental. It's your mental limiting beliefs. And I know that personally because for years and years and years, I wanted to buy bigger commercial apartment buildings and, big, deals, but I put myself in a place where I said, well, I can't do that. And that limiting belief will hold you down. But if you can break through that barrier and hear a story like Seshu's where, $200 in his pocket with a lot of different obstacles and challenges that I think a lot of us listening are facing, even at that age, you can absolutely do it. You can make it happen and push through. And so thank you very much for sharing, Seshu. So
Thank you so much.
at what point in your professional career did you say real estate and also why? When and why real estate?
I think I was doing very well in my corporate job as well. Actually, I moved into the management. I got promoted multiple times and all kinds of stuff. But at the same time, I always wanted to have my own business and provide some employment to the others. That was my goal from the childhood. Basically, it's not only me. I want to bring up all my other folks or my other friends together along with me if I'm just growing. That's my goal. So that's one of the reasons. And I can only do it with my own business. And there is always a major potential growth in the business side than having a corporate job. It's okay. So that I thought always wanted to go into a business side. My dad was managing a small business in India, but that's how we know. But I was not really involved in any of those businesses when I was a kid growing up in India. But once I came here, I said, okay, this is what I should be doing. But I did not want to leave my corporate job because of a lot of other challenges and of issues with our visa. And I had to stay with the corporate companies to get my green card. Eventually, I became a citizen of this country. But at the same time, I was always looking for a ways to establish a business. And this is one of the and I was always fond of the real estate. So and as I said, I moved here to Denver when I was maybe 25, 26. And then within a year, I got married. And then by 28, I bought my first home.
Yeah.
Here in Highlands Ranch. I still keep that house. So then that's where I saw the potential in real estate. Yeah. And I started talking to my friends, started helping them out. And by 30, I had my first child. And then immediately after I had my daughter, I started the real estate.
I love it. Well, congratulations. And then you found real estate ownership early, getting on, buying that first house that you lived in. It was your first investment, and you still have it today. And I would love to see the appreciation on that deal, which is pretty good. And then, so you've continued on. So how many transactions did you do, like from the moment that you started till, I don't know, the next phase in your commercial? Like how many did you do on your own before you started a brokerage? And tell me about that transition a little bit.
Let me tell you, the initial first 1 or 2 years have been very struggling. Okay, sometimes 1, 2, or 3 deals. That's it. But I never gave up. I always kept my license. I always tried to learn a lot of stuff. Learning is the key. That's what I always believe in. Even every day, even today, I just want to learn. That's what makes the biggest difference in any business or any career. So I've always been learning, even though I did not have too much of a success in early years, year 1, year 2, year 3, I never gave up. I just kept myself stuck to it and then keep on trying. And at one point of time, I was able to do a lot of, started with the residential transactions. I was doing pretty good with the residential. I closed maybe more than 250 residential properties so far, probably. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a long time.
Like a couple hundred, 250 or so residential deals. That's awesome. There's a few things you said that I want to touch on. And one, even that you said earlier, your father was an entrepreneur and he was a business owner, and whether he did real estate or whatever, that the entrepreneur spirit, I'm sure you learned that, you saw it consciously, subconsciously, and you got that spirit to you. And that's, eventually what you ended up doing here. And then despite the hardships, your lack of success early on, you said you never gave up. And then education and learning is the key. You never stop learning.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you follow those three things, you'll absolutely education, never give up, and just kind of follow the entrepreneurial spirit.
Absolutely. And I wanted to tell you, to be successful as a business owner or do any project or anything you're starting, you always have a failure. Everybody needs to understand that. Okay. Out of 20 projects that I have tried, I probably failed in 18 of them. I'm being very honest. Okay. Only 1 or 2 successful, but just look for those successful projects. Okay. Whatever we try to do. That's what I believe in. And I even today, I will never give up. Even if something goes on south, some kind of issues pop up, that's fine. And I'm going to take the risk and move ahead and try to fix and learn from the mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Yeah, don't focus on all of the losses, because there's going to be a ton of them. Focus on the 1 or 2 successes, and that's what make it happen. Even some people, they just don't understand. Well, I've looked forever and I couldn't find a deal. I'm like, well, how many deals have you looked at? Oh, I looked like forever. I've looked at like 10 or 20 or 30 deals. And I go, yeah, well, it may take you 50, 60 or 100 to find one. So that's what it's going to have to take to find the second and the third. And, people stop before they reach success. Right. So
absolutely. The biggest challenge for anybody to get into the business or anybody to start, be an entrepreneur is majority of the people, they're very smart people out there in the world, but majority of the people, they don't want to fail. The problem is they do not want to fail, and they want everything to be successful. But that's not going to work. It's not the real world. People need to understand that.
What an amazing reminder, because I don't want to fail either. I don't want, it doesn't feel good. It hurts. I don't want to skin my knees, and I don't want to fall down, and I don't want to have people look at me, because they say, oh, I thought you were successful. You had another loss, huh? My pride, it hurt, all of that stuff. It hurts. We don't want to fail, but it's necessary to have those successes.
Yep. It is necessary. That's what I believe in.
What a great reminder, brother. Okay, well, this is an awesome conversation. If we stopped here, I would be happy, but we're going to keep going. Hello. You're listening to the 5 Talents Podcast. I'm your host, Abel Pacheco. If you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you're serious about achieving financial freedom. Are you ready to create your own path through multifamily investing for yourself and your family? Then I know you're going to appreciate our Investor's Guide to Multifamily Investing. It's titled Tackling Commercial Real Estate the Easy Way. We use this guide to invest ourselves in $93 million worth of real estate. So we're going to show you the basic mechanics of multifamily syndications and how to evaluate your next passive investment opportunity. So the best part, if you subscribe to our podcast now, leave us a review and a rating. I'm going to give you a free copy of our ebook. So please take a moment to do that now. Once you've done that, go to 5tcre.com/ebook, 5tcre.com/ebook. Make sure to let us know you left a review, and we're going to send you a free copy. So thank you so much for subscribing to the 5 Talents Podcast. We really appreciate it. So your success, you started a brokerage, you started that, and now you're also doing commercial properties. So maybe tell us a little bit about the commercial side, and just so we have a picture, not only single family, but what are you doing in the commercial?
Yes. Just before I start what exactly we do in commercial, I just wanted to tell you how I got into the commercial side.
Oh, please feel free.
Yeah. As I said, I've been in the residential industry for a long time, my initial career. But I never wanted to be called as a regular real estate agent, okay, or a realtor. I just wanted to start a company. I wanted to create a brand. That's one reason I never, ever put my picture on the listings, or I just never do most of marketing on my name. I always wanted to have my brand created. That's how I created a company called Homes of Rockies, since I live in Denver, so I'm fond of Rockies. So we created a company, and then I always promoted my company. At the same time, as I said, I never wanted to be a regular real estate agent where we just simply take somebody to the open the doors and then tell them this is what you should buy and all. That's not me. I just wanted to be different from regular real estate practices. So I said, okay, I will create a company, and which is basically will be catered towards majority of the investors to invest into it, because depending on only the first-time home buyers is also not a great idea to scale your business. That's what I always believed in. So my focus always was to work towards the investments and help investors to invest into the real estate market. So that was the reason. And as a part of that, I saw there is a lot of potential on the commercial real estate side where I can help investors and make them invest into the real estate side and make them basically get their returns as they planned. So this is exactly the reason I went ahead and worked for a real estate firm in between my residential career. I quit the residential for a year and a half or 2 years. And then I went and worked for a company called KW Commercial here in Denver. Mm-hmm. So that's where I learned all that.
Little firm, KW.
Little firm.
Yeah. They're big here in Texas too.
Exactly. I worked for them, and then I learned a lot actually, because it's a little firm. I got to learn the leasing side of it. I got to learn the sales side of it, listing side of it, and everything basically. I was pretty happy to get a lot of knowledge around there. So as I came back again, that's when I started my brokerage firm, because I did not want to give up my residential client base, because the strategy was to convert those residential investors into the commercial investors. So that was the reason. So I started as a brokerage where we provide services in every aspect of the real estate, including the residential, commercial, and the property management, asset management. Those are the things. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Well, thank you very much for the insight in the background. I think that helps us understand a little bit more about how you transition to commercial, because there's so many different paths to commercial real estate, and just hearing your path is another way. You joined a company, you learned along the way, you learned all different aspects of the residential real estate, you built your own brand, and then you helped other investors, not just first-time homeowners. And those investors that already you built time, effort, energy, and trust in what you did for them. You helped them make money. Now you're helping them make money in commercial.
Absolutely. In fact, we do have investment being for both residential and commercial at this point of time. Some investors, they still are comfortable with residential. We have a couple of groups, they're coming as, they raise $1 million to $1.5 million, and then we're helping them buy 12 to 15 homes. and then we manage the property. So typically, that's what we're doing on the residential side.
It's
The
a great
commercial
model.
side, yeah. On the commercial side, we are pretty much focusing on the retail spaces, retail strip malls. I haven't really pushed my investors towards the office spaces, as you know, and because of the COVID and all the other situations in the world, a lot of office spaces are kind of in kind of a trouble at this moment. So I think we did one thing we saw is basically the investing into an office spaces would not be a great idea even 5 years ago. So that's one of the things worked out for us as well.
Got it. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you very much for sharing. And the private investors that you work with now, that's a model. I mean, that's what we're basically providing a service to private investors and try to allow other investors that don't have the time, effort, and energy, or maybe they don't have the expertise and knowledge. They want to leverage a team that does that. And then we're helping those investors use real estate to create wealth or preserve wealth or diversify their wealth, but without having to do the physical work, which is what you provide. And you're in the same model as we are, just in a different kind of vehicle.
Absolutely. Because majority of our investors, my clients are also basically financially they're pretty strong. They have capability to invest into it, but they do not have time because of their other commitments. So just because of that aspect of it, I started my own property management as asset management wing, because we didn't want our investors to have think about, okay, I have money, I'm putting the money into the investment, but how do I manage? I don't have time to manage. I don't have bandwidth to manage all these. So that's where I said, you are just doing it. You just getting into the group and then invest your money. You forget about it. And then we make good returns and everybody's pretty happy. And then they keep coming back to us.
Yeah, I love it. Just rinse and repeat at this point. So that sounds great. And like you said, because of COVID, office space is a little worrisome. However,
Exactly.
retail, and you do like retail strip malls. Is that kind of the
yes.
Big property, parking lot, busy streets, retail, and then make sure the mix of the tenants is in the right spot. Got to make sure all of those things, right? So maybe for a couple minutes, just explain to us like what this investment class, how you win in it, what you look for. Maybe just give us a couple of nuggets, because the Commercial Real Estate Podcast, we don't love to hear this insight from you.
Absolutely. So typically, the biggest advantage of investing into the commercial real estate, especially into the retail spaces, is majority of the leases are kind of a triple net or double net leases and all, right? That's where we actually focus on. And the returns, because of these double net and triple net leases, the returns are a little bit higher than any other real estate investment. So one of the reasons that I try to promote is investors look at this. This is the property, and we do have a longer term leases in place. At the same time, we also look at different aspects of the asset. As you know, in commercial real estate, especially in the retail spaces, these strip malls are classified into Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D, and whatnot, based on a lot of other factors. The year of build, how the construction has been done, at the same time, what kind of tenancies we have in the buildings, and what kind of leases we have, what kind of guarantees we do have on those leases. Those are all, every aspect is accounted in terms of trying to classify those assets into these classifications. We can go with various classes. However, if it again depends on how much risk an investor would like to take. Okay, if they do not want too much of a risk, the cap rates would be much lower, but the classification of the properties, we try to invest them into a Class A or Class B. If somebody says, okay, I would like a higher cash flow, at the same time my risk levels are much higher, then we go with a Class C or Class D. And we also have a lot of opportunities around the value add, where if 10,000 square foot strip mall is basically there is a couple of vacant spaces, up to 20 to 30% of vacancy, and then we try to fill it up within a year or two, and then we try to refinance or sell it back, and then get the money out of it. So that's how we try to do that. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, very similar kind of asset classes in commercial multifamily, risk versus risk and reward ratio, heavier lift, higher risk, bigger return when you appreciate it or force the appreciation up and do, your business plan. What's a typical business plan on the commercial retail? Is it like, well, maybe let's just say for a value add commercial retail, is it empty tenants and you're trying to fill it with the right mixture of tenants, or how does that happen?
That is exactly true. If it's a value add, we try to acquire the property not more than 20 to 30% vacancy. Okay. And then we try to fill it up with those 20-30% should be enough for us to get a really good return, actually. Okay, because we do not want to have any issues of doing a financing if it's more than 70% to 30% vacancy. It's again, it all depends on the DSCR.
That's the commercial stabilization kind of point.
Exactly.
Multifamily. For multifamily, it's 90% stabilized. The occupancy where we want it stabilized. For commercial retail, we're finding out it's 70%. Then for those passive and active investors, it's like the lenders are say, hey, this is stabilized. They're willing to go give you more favorable terms in this space. Okay.
Absolutely. Again, as we all know, it all depends on the debt service coverage ratio. Typically, for 100% ideal property in retail spaces, the debt service coverage ratio would be anywhere between 1.25 to 1.3. So that's where it is. All these lenders will lend you the money. So if the cap rates are around 6.3 to 6.5, the DSCR could be somewhere around 1.25. So that's where we actually can secure a 75% LTV loan. Okay, and again, for all our investors, that's a very key aspect of it, because if the investment down payment is higher than 33%, and the returns diminishes significantly. So we want to keep the down payment or the investment into an asset to less than 33% on every asset.
Got it. Okay. Well, so there's a couple things that Seshu mentioned just to kind of make sure it's simple for those that they're following along. Debt service coverage ratio is, or DSCR or DSCR, either of those acronyms. It's the amount of coverage you can afford to pay your mortgage. He said 1.2, 1.25. Can I make the mortgage and have enough income to cover 1.25 is kind of what banks look at. So if my note is 750K, am I making at least $1 million? And that's 1.25, right? And
absolutely.
Then on the cap rate, he also mentioned, well, I heard a 6 point something number, and that cap rate, sorry, go ahead.
6.3.
6.3. So in Denver or his area, that may be different than San Antonio, Texas. It also may be different between multifamily and commercial retail. So that cap rate it's a very supermarket specific. But if you once you find that out, that's essentially what they say capitalization rate. If you were a cash buyer and you bought the deal, how much am I going to make return? And that's one way to look at it. Another way, if you have the cap rate, if you know how much net operating income and you have a cap rate, you can kind of back up into the purchase price. So there's three of these numbers that kind of all work together: cap rate, your purchase price, and also your net operating income, and they kind of flow together. But anyways, just giving a couple of lessons here as you're talking. So this is awesome, Seshu. Thanks for the insight. So.
Thank you for explaining about the DSCR. I can also tell you a very easy way to understand what DSCR is, the debt service coverage ratio, for a lot of other people.
Please.
For example, the debt service coverage ratio is, let's say if the net operating income on an asset is $125,000, okay, just for the sake of it, your mortgage cannot be more than $100,000. That's what yeah, exactly. That means after paying all your mortgage, all your expenses, you have to have 25% over your expenses. So in commercial real estate, unless you make money, you will not qualify for a loan. You will always make money. You have to have a positive cash flow. You have to have
you
a
have to, or
positive.
they're not going to give you a loan, right?
Exactly. And unlike in residential, a lot of times the residential investments, it can be on a 30-year amortization schedule, 25 years amortization, or 15 years amortization, where they end up paying more than what they are making on a rentals. But here in commercial, the lenders will not agree to it. It has to be, over the debt service.
Well, and this may be a great jumping point for us because you know the numbers, you know how to get there, you know how many properties it takes to analyze to find your deal, because this is what you're doing. And you've created a nice software or tool to help make it easier for people to find deals and invest in them, right?
Exactly. I'm a very fortunate actually. Basically, I think the idea came from my background as well. I'm an engineering. I have an engineering background. I'm a computer science guy. So I've worked in these kinds of systems in the past. So I said, why not we try to create one for our investment community? Okay. Thing is, the way we try to convince all our investors is we need to talk in terms of the numbers. Just simply saying something will not really generate any business or convince anybody. Basically, this is all about the numbers. The commercial real estate, especially, or investments into the residential real estate, is all about the numbers. So everybody wants to know, okay, this is what my down payment is. I have this much $100,000. What am I making in next 5 years or next 2 years? Why should I invest into the property? That is the first question any investor would pose, put in front of you. So the basic thing is, I always said, okay, I'm not talking. I'm going to show you what exactly it's going to be. This is how I just built my business.
Yep.
All with numbers. And it used to take hours together for me to do a analysis, a DSCR analysis, or a ROI analysis on a residential property or a commercial asset. So because of my background, I said, why not I build an application which will serve other realtors community or other broker community or other investor community. So that's how we built the software at this moment. The software, what we built is actually does a DSCR analysis, also an ROI analysis. What the DSCR analysis, what I'm talking about is, for example, I'll give you basic scenario. Let's say an investor is coming up with trying to invest into a commercial or residential real estate. So let's talk about only the commercial at this moment. An investor is coming up with a commercial investment. He thinks, okay, or she thinks that, oh, I want to invest into a commercial asset, and where what kind of returns there will be. Those are the questions we answer anyway, but they would like to understand, say, okay, I have $500,000 that to invest into it, but what am I going to get for my $500,000? Okay, so that's where the starting point is, the step one. That once the investor says, okay, I have this much of money and what exactly I'm trying to get. So the DSCR analysis, what we built, will be able to tell you how much money the bank would be willing to lend on a specific property. So let's say an investor goes and says, okay, these are all the properties that are available in the market at this moment. We send them and then they review it. Okay, I like this asset, but what exactly the maximum loan we can secure on this property? This DSCR analysis takes all these input values such as the net operating income, the gross income, expenses, and comes up with a net operating income. It actually comes up with a maximum loan that is specific investor can secure from a lender. That will also give you the down payment. So for example, okay, I have this asset in Dallas, Texas. Okay, it's basically listed at $4 million, for example. And what exactly my down payment should be? That's, as an investor, that's my first question.
Yeah.
So just run the DSCR analysis. It will tell you, okay, based on the net operating income, it will tell you what exactly the down payment that you should be bringing onto the table to close this deal.
There you go. Very
That's
simple,
one
very
analysis.
easy. That's easy. All the numbers we were just talking about, helping us simplify it.
Exactly. And then the second thing is, once we know, the investor knows at that point of time, okay, this is my down payment, like say, for example, $900,000 or $1.1 million, let's say, on a 4 million property. What would be my return in year one and year two? And what would be my average return if I keep this asset for a holding period of 8 years or 10 years? So that's exactly the questions an investor would ask themselves. So the ROI analysis would provide you individually each year's return, exactly what is the cash flow, what is the total return on investment, including your debt, the principal that is being paid by the tenants to the lender, and after all expenses, everything is in place. It's basically you can create within 5 to 10 minutes the whole entire analysis. And then you can create it as a PDF document, you can email it, or you can save it, or you can compare it against other assets.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations. I'm excited to see it, check it out, and help other people get some access to it. So it's probably a great point in time. Let's give our listeners what am I trying to say? Sorry about that. Your contact information. How do we reach out to you, Seshu? And maybe your websites or emails, whatever avenue you want them to go to reach out.
Sure. We do have a website, homesofrockies.com, and also we have a Facebook page, Homes of Rockies. That's where we started. The AMR Group is the asset management of Rockies, is basically our commercial wing. However, the original company we started as Homes of Rockies. So it's a AMR Group is a branding at this moment. So they can anybody can access our website, homesofrockies.com, and Homes of Rockies is the Facebook, and also provide you my contact information, the company information. You can put it on the podcast if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. And then your software, is there a separate website, or do I just go to Homes of Rockies and find your analysis tools?
It's basically, again, we are actually trying to release the software at this moment, and we have done everything to release. Okay, all we're trying to do is trying to find a day to go live.
All right. Well, stay in Seshu's world. He'll
exactly
update you
at this point.
Yeah.
The links will be provided on our website, but it's called the Real Returns, the software. The real estate real. Somebody wants to find out what exactly their returns would be, so that's the reason we named it as a Real Returns. It'll be realreturns.homesofrockies.com. You can even access today.
All right, there you go. Well, Seshu, thank you very much. Go ahead.
Sure.
Go ahead.
And I also wanted to tell you, it's the Real Return software, what we built, it's not only catering towards the commercial investors, it also talks about the residential investors. For example, you can simply key in the numbers and purchase price, the down payment, expenses, whatnot, the taxes, insurance, any other maintenance expenses, or predicted or estimated vacancy rates, all those things that you can enter into it. You can do it for a single family, you can do it for a multi-family, you would still know what exactly the total return on your investment would be.
All right. Well, I'm excited and wish you a lot of success. God bless you in that run, and just keep going, man. Keep going. So is there anything else we didn't touch on today that you wanted to bring some additional exposure, or something we didn't ask about you're hoping, or just some last parting words and give some insight of wisdom for our listeners?
I think I'm very fortunate actually to be on your podcast. I'm very, very thankful to you, Abel. It's very nice actually. And again, the meetups that what you run are awesome. They're great. Actually, you're bringing people together. I really love them, and I probably would never leave that meetup. Okay, I love it. Actually, it's not about generating the business or anything. It's sharing the knowledge among the community. I really love it. And in addition to what we have been doing, and at this moment, we are also going to launch our YouTube channel, where we are going to talk about our new software, because there is a lot of there will be a lot of questions for our investor community once they start using this tool. The tool can be used by investors, can be used by brokers, can be used by realtors, who basically whoever wants to use it. It's like an underwriting tool which talks about how much money you need to buy an asset. Now, what would be your returns for a holding period? So those are the things. Once we have that, we will update our YouTube channel on our website as well. So that's something I wanted to add. Thank you so much once again.
You're absolutely welcome. So thank you very much for your time. If you've got some value from today's conversation, I know you did, go to our podcast, subscribe, rate, review, give us some love there, and that'll continue to our quest for other great guests like Seshu and the ones before him. So thank you very much. And my name is Abel Pacheco. I'm your host. If you want more of this education, let us know. We will keep pushing it out. Our website, we're going to be updating that as well. Our events page and links to our meetup, links to some of the other events we're doing, and that'll be there, 5tcre.com. So thank you very much. Seshu, you're the man. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Thanks for all your time, and thanks for the opportunity.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of the 5 Talents Podcast with your host, myself, Abel Pacheco. Each week, we're going to bring you interviews from industry experts and commercial real estate investors who followed their dreams and achieved massive success. Before you leave, let me ask you a few questions. Did you enjoy this episode? Did you learn something valuable? Was your mind stretched to what's possible and what you can achieve? Do you want other experts just like the one you heard today? If you answered yes to any or all of those questions, then please take a moment to subscribe to the 5 Talents Podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and most importantly, leave us a written review. Tell us what you liked, tell us your favorite guest, give us any feedback. I'm excited to learn and improve so you can get a more valuable show. So thank you again for subscribing to the 5 Talents Podcast.